Hello, you beautiful wise women. Womb wisdom. What is it? Sounds quite arbitrary. Sounds like some new age woo-woo bullshit buzz term. I get it. I get you. Like, what the fuck is womb work? Like, I don't even have a womb. What is womb work? Why? Why should we do it? Why is this constant flux of this buzzword showing up for me? Why is there more people claiming to be womb priestesses, yoni priestesses? You know, like, what is happening with this divine feminine movement? Well, I'm here to shed some light on that in just a real, raw and honest way, you know, without the spiritual fluff that a lot of women don't connect with. And that it's so beautiful to be in your full shanti state. But a lot of women don't connect with that. So that's where I come in. Is let's bring it down to ground. Let's bring it back to the mother. The womb is a potent and powerful creative center. We all come from the womb. It's where life is generated. It is where death is generated. Each month, women, the life bearers of this beautiful feminine flow of energy, are the custodians of this wisdom. And it is up to us, if you are a cisgendered woman, that is a woman born with a womb that identifies as a woman, it is up to us to claim our role as feminine leaders, to tune in to our womb space. And what I mean by that is focusing your energy on the uterus, on the womb. And throughout my journey of working with many different clients from around the world, it becomes more and more apparent how much energy and stories are stored in this place. Now, when we're working within the realms of emotional alchemy, the perspective is, and the general consensus is, that emotion, particularly trauma, or a lot of shadow energy, shadow emotions, that's the energy and the emotions that we discard out of shame, that we kind of compartmentalize and we don't want to look at in the moment, so we bloop, put that away. A lot of those stories and those wounds are anchored in the womb. And the reason being is because it's this nice, rich, dark, fertile space. And this is beyond physical fertility. No, I'm not speaking to the fertility in this respects on a biological function for bringing children into the world. I'm talking on a dreaming level of our ability to create a life which we choose. Yeah, and we all have this. We are all creators. We all have creation energy within us, and we all have the capacity to tap into that as conduits for the divine. And the whole path is remembering and claiming it and walking it and sharing it. Yeah. So when you start journeying with your womb space, you be tuning into this area, and a lot of the times I teach the practice of, it's a visual kind of meditation practice in that sense, as we anchor into the center of the earth to create an energetic tether so that we're connected, we are grounded, and then we come up from the soles of the feet, the inside of the legs, and we're breathing. And for a lot of women, it's a bit, it's a bit of a novelty to start with. You might be giggling because, oh, this is bullshit, it feels really weird, but I encourage you to keep practicing and working with it. So we're breathing up into the yoni, into the vagina, through that sacred gateway of the cervix up into the womb. And what I find is when I guide people, women, into this space, a lot of women have deep emotion simply by reaching the cervix, which is the doorway. And before they cross the threshold into the womb, there's emotion because they have never consciously gone to that space or never even knew that it was possible. And a lot of times women will perceive these doors that are sealed shut, or that they've got, vines or stuff growing over it, or they've got big padlocks on it, or, totally sealed shut, that there is no access or entry point, or maybe it's like a rickety old door, like so. It's blown me away of the visual representations of what some women have shared with me. And what that is showing most women is that we tend to live our lives here and not in our body. And the beautiful pathway of feminine medicine and feminine magic and the gifts of the feminine way and the feminine expression is embodiment, and it's bringing it into our bodies through body wisdom, and it's through radiance and beauty. That's the gifts of the feminine. Now, a lot of women, modern women in contemporary society, have not even known that it's possible to connect with that part of themselves. They've never been shown a way. They've been shamed. They have had their innocence stolen from them at a very young age, which has corrupted this sacred space, this sacred container. And so when a lot of women first journey into that space, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of resistance, they laugh it off like it's just bullshit and, you know, oh, that's just crap and I don't agree and blah, 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 or whatever stories play out. And part of the reason I feel to that is because there's great power in this space, and there's great power in embodiment practices because it takes you out of your head and into your body. And when you come more fully into your body, you have an ability to respond to your surroundings and sensory information that you're receiving rather than reacting. And there's great power in that. There's great power in responding rather than reacting. So going into the womb space, what a lot of women find when they first journey there for the first time is that it's a foreign landscape. And the whole process, what you're doing the first time you go into that womb space and doing this womb work, is you are mapping it and you are creating a language. Because once we create a language for it, we create parameters of familiarity. And when we do that, it allows us to venture deeper into those spaces. But if it's the first time you've gone there, you know, that access point to really journey into the deep-seated trauma or imprints or patterns, stories, ancestral wounds, whatever it is, it won't be shown to you. Because the whole process is to develop a relationship with her and to her. Yeah? And remember that we are connected to this space. So when you first go in there, we're just mapping it and getting a feel for what's happening in our inner world, in this inner landscape. You know, when we're tuning into the feminine, it's the internal world. That's why women are so emotional, that we have this ability to tap into the feeling space of being, not the thinking. We can go there too. That's a very masculine energy, the action and consciousness. But women, we have the ability to drop in. Yeah, that's where our intuition comes from, into that inner state of being. So when you're first doing it is, you know, even if you're laughing and you're thinking it's silly, is to go with it. Go with those processes, and hopefully you've found a practice that you feel comfortable to connect with that, whether it's, you know, the womb work that I share, or there's, you know, multiple women in the world stepping up and sharing this work now. It's definitely coming through thick and fast and deep. So having a sense of curiosity and an open mindset will allow you to explore this work in a deeper way, and it will set you up for really beautiful experiences and transformational healing. If you're going into it with a closed mindset and this belief, then don't be surprised if you don't experience too much. So just being open-minded and, yeah, just kind of going with it and go to have no expectations and go with the energy and go with the feelings as they come through. So the more we step into this space and clear the energy that's there, most of the time we will feel and be able to bring up and kind of purge old stories, a lot from our childhood, a lot from our first sexual experiences, from all the times where we didn't speak our truth, where we were people pleasing and we felt like we couldn't say no, You know, all those pathways of being, all the compartmentalized emotions that we've pushed aside, all of the ways in which we have felt shamed, all of the ways in which we have felt frustrated, disempowered, disillusioned, all of the ways in which we felt resentment and anger and deep pain, where we've felt grief of loss, where we've felt longing, our desires are in there, our brilliance, our radiance, our beauty can all be accessed in this womb space. And when we journey in there with intention, we can extract the medicine of the womb, and she speaks to us gently, sometimes very directly, but usually gently, the wisdom that comes through. And when we tune in and have the ability to listen, we can access our own wisdom, and we can start to guide ourselves on our life path rather than seeking others to take us there. And that the more we journey into this space, we're claiming sovereignty, that we're coming home into the body, that we begin to realize that we have those answers to the questions that we seek, and we simply become more embodied and more in a state of presence and of deep remembering. And the journey then is to trust the wisdom that comes through. And sometimes she speaks to us in symbols, sometimes she speaks to us in song, in dance, sometimes she speaks to us in riddles that, you know, we might extract this information or this wisdom and then be like, what the fuck does that mean? And we write it down, and, you know, a couple of months or years might pass, and then we go, oh, that's what that was. And remembering that whenever you access any trauma in the womb, or indeed in the body, wherever it's anchored, that we don't need to go into the story of it. Because when we go into the story of it, we have the capacity to reanimate it, and the mind cannot differentiate between then and now. So it's really important to understand that when you're doing this healing work, when you're doing this deep womb work, is because it can bring up memories that we may have forgotten. It can also bring up false memories too, and that's something I'll speak on a little bit later. It can bring up ancestral memories as well. And the whole journey is to access the emotion of it and to clear the emotion and to allow the space for you to feel it. That you don't have to go, no, I don't want to feel this, get out. It's like welcoming those feelings, allowing them to run their course through expression. So it's really important that you're either using, you know, dance or movement or vocalizing, so some type of embodiment practice to allow that energy to move through your body so that it doesn't anchor anywhere else. And the more you do it, the more you'll start to feel this expansion in your womb, and it won't be full with this stuff anymore. And then you have the power to fill it, because the nature of the feminine is to be fulfilled. You know, we grow children in this womb space, and we can grow our dreaming and our desires in there and pay attention to it. And if you're in the season of woman where you're bleeding, is then you're working with your cycle. As you're bleeding and you're shedding the lining of the uterus, you are letting go of everything that didn't come to pass in that cycle. And then you're anchoring anew. You're working with the energy of ovulation if you're ovulating, and calling it in, anchoring it in, because you're super fertile, yeah? If you're in that state of perimenopause or menopausal, it's coming into a new season of womanhood. And so the energetics are different. We're kind of detaching and letting go of the roles and responsibilities of what we think we must be in the world, and tuning into a more embodied state of being that's in alignment with who we are at core level, and stepping into our purpose more fully and into the gifts of our wisdom. And then the process is of sharing it. Yeah, and the more we work on that level with the womb in that season and that cycle of woman, is we then have the power to let go of physiological experiences of hot flushes and mood swings, because we're directly connected to our womb and what it's calling forth with us. So if you haven't had these connection points for embodiment practice, or you've never connected with the womb, now is the time to be able to do it, to really establish a beautiful relationship with her. She is a part of you, and that it's never too late. And that what you'll notice if you're in that menopausal state, I've spoken with a few women about this actually, is that it's going to bring up areas in your life where you have been out of alignment, or you have not stepped into yourself fully, or you haven't spoken your truth, or you've played small, you've dulled your side, you've bitten your tongue, and all this resentment and anger and frustration, which has been anchored in the womb, starts to bubble up. And so we have these wild experiences of chaos and being out of control. But when we consciously go there with intent to connect with what's the energetic thread behind that, what's the medicine in this, we can find pathways for healing. And it all comes through the womb. Yeah. If you're a pregnant woman or hoping to conceive, it's really important to do this womb work to clear that space before you conceive the child. Or if it's in the early stages of pregnancy, or even, up until about 6 months, I would be doing it. We can still be clearing this space, but make sure that you're tuning in to let baby know that whatever's coming through is not what you're feeling in the truth, that it is not the world around them, it is simply old stories passing through, and that mummy's doing inner work and speaking to child on that level so that they know that they can differentiate themselves from whatever's coming through, that it is not going to be their experience or an imprint of the external world, that they are safe and that they are contained. Yeah, it's really important that you speak to baby in that level. And of course, if you have had a traumatic pregnancy or a traumatic birth, it's really important to go there with somebody that you trust. I really encourage you to work with mental health practitioners or support people that can hold that space for you so that you're safe. Safety above all when you do this work, because it can bring up some pretty gnarly stuff in catharsis, and that it's important to go there, because when we clear that energy, whatever we're creating or manifesting or aligning to, it comes through more clearly and with ease and flow and with grace. And I've had this experience of creating and working with my womb, and then finding out that there was, energy in there from being a young girl that needed healing, and I needed to do some inner child work, and it tainted what I was calling in and bringing through because of this imprint and this subconscious belief that I didn't know at the time. It had kind of filtered through my creative process, which was anchoring in the womb, and manifested in a way that I felt was not in alignment or into the depth of what it could have been had I have done the work. And that's not to say that it was wrong or anything. It was perfectly beautiful from the moment, and I learnt so much from the way that it played out. So even in that, we can come into this state of acceptance where we can unhook from a sense of failure or not doing things the right way, because everything is a learning experience. It's an opportunity to connect with ourselves more fully. It's an opportunity to connect with others and to create really powerful and beautiful, inspiring dialogue. But the whole pathway is to tune into the body to find out what the wisdom and the truth is connected to those moments, to express them, to speak them, to heal them, to find resolution and integration, and then find ways in which we can create that healing in our external reality. And a lot of that is to do with relationships with other people. Womb work is really important. It is fundamental, and I have this feeling and this calling to work with women in this way, and it comes through in quite shamanic realms of clearing this energy. This spot where I'm sitting now, I actually bring women into the forest and we clear energy anchored into the womb, and it's a really, beautiful space to be, because it's private and away from the external world in that sense. We're just being held by nature and by the mother. yeah, I feel like that's all that's coming through in this moment of what needs to be shared in this format, in this little video, because I could keep going on for hours. And one thing, just quickly, I also want to share is I have noticed from doing my womb work over many, many moons and lifetimes that I've been doing it, is that I've noticed this womb flutter that comes through. I've spoken to a few people about it which experience it as well, and I've been, you know, tracking it and trying to create the map of what it is and what it is for me. And what I'm finding is it's that dreaming coming through, and it comes through before I consciously connect with it and connect dots. And my womb picks up on this sensory information that, ooh, I've conceived the dreaming. I have conceived a new gift of creation, a new offering, or something that I am the mother of, that I have to birth into the world and to share. And I just encourage you, if you're feeling that vibration in your womb, it's like a fluttering. If for those of you that have experienced pregnancy, it's a little bit different to the butterfly feeling of the fetus in those early movements. I know it was around 11, 12 weeks when I first felt my children in the womb, but it's different, and it's a really beautiful, quick, fluttering vibration that it feels activated, that on a cellular level, that ooh, something's anchoring in, and it's coming through and spiraling in. So when you're feeling that, is to breathe into a space of gratitude, because you've received something beautiful and it will be playing out in your life. And the purpose for you being the custodian of that is to keep tuning in, clearing the debris, clearing the stuff, clearing the blocks in the way that allow you to birth it into the world clearly, beautifully, and magnificently. And then watch it create inspiring and beautiful change in the world, and watch it impact other people's lives as well as your own in a positive way. So much love, many blessings to you. I hope you have a blessed day of choices. I'm signing off now from this magical place.